Okay, so I'm actually picking this up from where I left it yesterday. And the state I actually left this building yesterday is, yeah, in this position here, where, in fact, I'm skipping ahead of myself. So I'm just opening up Cursor in the background. Um, yeah, I'm just opening up Cursor in the background. So essentially, I've got an application that I've been building, that I've been working on for several weeks. And then I parked it for about 4 weeks to, yeah, yeah, 4 to 8 weeks. So about 2 months. I parked the application because I hit a bit of a roadblock. I've got ADHD, so in terms of just focusing on one thing, other things ended up taking my attention, which then essentially made me park the app, rather than just fixing and completing the build. I parked it. And yeah, I'm just opening up Cursor in the background so I can just stop waffling on. And you can see the actual app itself, and a bit more of what I'm actually talking about rather than me just being here and waffling. Yeah. So just quick introduction. My name is Clay, and I've been on the AI scene for several years now. But just in the background, I work as an IT operations manager, but then build quite a lot of AI systems integrations. I've done a lot of work on Make, NAN, and several other platforms, Zapier in the past. And it actually goes back a lot further than that in terms of the automation stuff. I used to be quite heavy on the growth hacking scene. There used to be a group that was involved in many years ago called Traffic and Copy, and was a serious user of a lot of these kind of black hat solutions, to find growth online, to find growth for businesses. But I've never been one to actually document what I'm doing. And that's kind of essentially why I've started this channel, why I've started this platform, just to kind of get myself a little bit more out there, to document my journey. And then, yeah, essentially try and help others as well. I'm not a know it all. I'm not one of these social media influencers within the AI space, that's here to kind of promote the latest tool or add another tool to your stack. I'm just here to just show you what I'm doing, what I'm building, what I'm working on, and just see where this takes me, see where this journey takes us. And yeah, so essentially the problem today that we kind of jumped straight into, is I've got an application that I've been working on or trying to build in Cursor for a couple of months now. I ended up hitting a roadblock, and I just want to unstick it. There's a few kind of like influential people that I do follow, within this AI and AI engineering space. One of those being Matt, Pocock. So he's released a few skills that have got a lot of traction. And what I wanted to do is implement one of his suggestions or solutions on top of my own philosophy that I've been following in terms of just phasing everything, from A to Z, just to make the context window smaller when I'm building. But I wanna apply one of his skills that I've built, that he's built, sorry, and then just kind of show you that process in terms of hitting a roadblock within Cursor or whatever solution you're using, and then how to actually unstick that, and then obviously engineer the rest of your project and architect the rest of your project around a bit better ring fencing. And then we'll go straight into it. No plan, no real structure to this. I'm just building along, and I've just hit the record button. Yeah, just so that we can just see where it goes. So there will be moments where I go quiet. There will be moments where I have to, switch screens to that screen, just so I can catch a break or whatever else. As I said, there's no structure. I've just pressed record, and that's going to be the format over the next few weeks, because I just do want to get out of this habit of yeah, just coding in silence or vibe coding or building in private, and document a lot more of what I'm doing. And then yeah, just kind of give tips on the way. I'm sure it's going to just be me, myself, and I in these live sessions for the next few weeks, and hopefully that viewership does pick up, and you guys can join me and keep me company as I'm working away. Right, so cursor is open in the background now, so I'm just going to just quickly switch to that and show you the actual application that we're going to be working on today. The roadblock is and everything in between. I'm just switching over. Cool. So this is the build itself. But yeah, essentially this is it. So it's a dashboard that I've built as a prospector tool. Again, just to replace a lot of these stacks that are out there, and again to help my own businesses. I'm not really an agency owner as such anymore. I've dibbled and dabbled in terms of like web agencies and things like that. I've spent a lot of time building web apps, mobile apps, blockchain, whatever else, you name it. But a lot of the work that I do has been always alongside a general work, general kind of job within the IT space, and then word of mouth and things like that. But again, promoting and putting myself out there is something that I have struggled with because of just being a one man band. So this tool I'm building that general outreach without having to kind of pay a massive marketing campaign and whatever else, and then also deal with the load of people contacting me directly, or if I'm busy and not being able to pick all of that up. This was the intention of just being able to kind of control the whole piece from end to end without having to pay hundreds a month or thousands a month in marketing and kind of general prospection and prospecting and outreach. And this is essentially the tool that I'm working on. So I hit a roadblock along the way. I got it to kind of like work here and there, but I wasn't too pleased with the actual implementation, because I'd done a lot of work in the planning stage in terms of building all of all of the directives in a way so that I had sliced all of the work packages so that the agent that I was using to build this can actually follow it and connect all of the bits back together, retaining the context window, but then also retaining the overall framing of the application so there wasn't too much stray. But then I noticed over the last few kind of iterations, things were going wrong with the navigation. Things were going wrong in terms of the authentication back to my mail server and things like that. So I thought, nah, now that I've parked it and I was working on a different application that I've now built and shipped, I wanted to go back to this and then try out a couple of these kind of like best practices that Matt has released. Or kind of he's spoken heavily about them, but I wanted to kind of go through the motions of how I would now take some of his work, fine tune it for myself. And this is something I found out before I hit the record button. So yeah, we'll fly straight in. I'll show you a little bit of that, and then I'll kind of just, yeah, I'll go through the motions and talk you through what I'm doing at the same time. I'll try my best. So where I'm at the moment is I've had to do a lot of cleanup in this cursor directory. And again, this is one of the things where I'm trying to, again, keep better shape of what I'm doing. So I was blindly, or the agent was blindly coding away and everything else, and I got it to a stage where this has actually been working quite well. I've been able to send out emails and things like that. So just give me a second. I should have I should have one that's actually made it all the way through, and the outreach has actually been sent. Don't know why I can't find that. Let's have a look. All right. Okay. So maybe it's not. It's not seen that. Okay, that's a bit slightly embarrassing. But anyway, let's not dither around that too much. That's annoying. Um, yeah, that's extremely annoying. Anyway, it is what it is. We'll be able to get through to that in a second. And these are the kind of teething issues that I actually do want to fix, because I had gotten this working. Yet I'm not really sure why I can't see any of that anymore. Again, it just might be me. It might just be me, and not having looked at this in a while. Yeah, it's slightly annoying, but we'll get to it. We'll get to it and we'll walk through it and we'll be able to fix a lot of these things. And the one thing that I do quite advocate, I have been in the technology space, and applications, programming and whatever else, for probably about 15 years. I studied computer science at university. I've got a computer science degree. I've worked several technical roles from Amazon through to Shell, BP, Axo, Mobile, Ineos. I've worked with quite a lot of like big companies within the energy space, building web platforms and things like that, and then it ventured into project management and whatever else. But the background and the foundations are there, and that's kind of how I've tried to approach a lot of builds. Yes, I'm not kind of getting stuck into the code myself, but when there is a problem and things like that, I want to hopefully be able to showcase and show you what to do, and the methodology and the philosophy that I kind of use, and hopefully you guys can follow along. So yeah, let me stop dithering around, and actually get to the point. So the first thing I actually want to do here is, there are some prerequisites that have already been complete. And in Claude Code, the stage I'm currently on, is the stage that I'm actually on at the moment, just reviewing, and better fitting some of these skills. That these are all Matt's skills that he's written, but I hit a massive stumbling block right at the beginning, and so right. So what had happened is, when Cursor was building, there were several like sort of sub projects that I was working on, and then the repositories ended up getting mixed up with one another. So in terms of where I was actually committing things to, and I wasn't watching the branches within Cursor, I could see that I wasn't working on the main branch, and then whenever I press commit and whatever else, I was just kind of blindly hoping that, with a bit of, wasn't really blind, but I was under the impression that everything was going to the right place. But then when I opened up the repo, and looked, you can see it. You can see it here. So, an intelligence platform that I've been building is in the same place as my own personal prospector tool, and there were commitments being made or code being reviewed in the same repository, which wasn't right. So I had to kind of clean that up first, and kind of unpick all of that, and that's kind of what's happened here. I then condensed all of that down, into a new session, just to get that context back, and now I can actually now start the review of these skills and benchmarking them against the the work that I kind of did prior to starting the project, or prior to um no prior to making this pivot to focus more or to try out Matt's suggestion. So that's what I'm going to tackle today. That's what I aim to tackle today, and take you guys along on that journey. So yeah, so without further ado, let's get stuck in. Let's get into it. Um, cool. So, essentially, so this is a list of the skills that Claude recommends based off of my project, that we should review. I do want to review all of them and then fine tune, because having looked at what this skill is actually doing, it's a grill me skill where it kind of goes through the planning stages. It's kind of like a peer review, but why I didn't want to just drag and drop and put this straight into my repository or straight into my code is because I'd done a lot of that pre-work, sorry, that work prior to starting this build. So I don't want to have to kind of like go through the motions of peer reviewing to that depth um after the fact. And then also I wanted to edit how this handoff actually works as well, just to make sure that it's actually best fit for my use case, because I think that's something that quite a lot of people are guilty of. You see someone doing something one way, and then you just copy and paste, or put the skill straight into your repository or into your code base without having reviewed it for yourself to make sure that actually it works the same, for how you've built your code base up, or how you've built your libraries up. So that's essentially what I'm going to go through in this segment. Yeah, we'll just see how long it takes until um, my wife gets home. Cool. Right, so I've got all of these skills in a folder. So the first thing I'm actually going to do, put one by one. I'm going to start with this general grill me skill up here. Obviously showing, but I'm so cool. And the prompt that I'm using is, and sorry, and what I've got here is the original project folder in Claude, in terms of where I created my and then the all of the taste documents, the compliance MDC, and then the database MDC. So all of these core files that were peer reviewed and benchmarked. And the style that I like to use personally is I'll, go back and forth and get it to peer review with me, build the plan together with the LLM. So whether you're using Claude or ChatGPT, go through it, have the agent, create the plan. You don't have to do all of the writing. You know what you want, or you should know what you want. I go into slightly more detail personally, because I have an idea of how I want the systems to connect, how I want the features to connect. So I'll go into a little bit more detail, and then I'll use the peer review prompts to kind of go back and forth and do the gap analysis between best practice, my idea, and then at each stage not have it kind of be over suggestive. And that bit was quite similar to this grill me skill when I saw Matt kind of publicizing it. So that's the first thing that, so um just going Uh, what I'm actually gonna do is have these two checked together. So the handoff, what the handoff tool or what the handoff skill is actually doing is compacting your context window, which is slightly different to me compacting the phases. And I was doing this slightly again, not really the same way as Matt did it, but in terms of the the context windows um within Cursor. Just give me a second, just open this up. But yeah, the context windows within and pull this over. See, so in this particular session, I've only used 36K tokens from this particular what from this particular session, right? So from this context window, so it's not for the full build. This is just from this agent, this prompt and whatever else I've used 36K. So what I was doing each one, obviously you can see it from each task, I do switch windows, but I wanted to kind of again follow more of Matt's robustness in terms of how he actually does this, just to see how that improves or how that changes, or whether I need to actually change it. Am I doing the exact same thing but just in a different way? And make it tailor made for my workflow, my working style, not to over engineer or over make too much of a shift to where I'm now kind of not working more. I'm not working more efficiently because I'm having to remember to do all of these other things. I don't want to lose um my workflow or the processes that I built or any of that speed. So this is why I'm doing the review of the skill, benchmarking it against my way of work. And then we can make any of those tweaks, close up any gaps, and then see what Claude suggests as well. And then I'll put it into ChatGPT, see what any gaps there, and then I'll finally put it into again Claude, just to kind of have another pass through it. In terms of how I'm intending to use it before I plug it back into Claude Code as the final skill, and then start to implement it, right? Just so that I've done those passes myself based off of my workflow, my working patterns, and my code base, just to make sure that it's actually a good fit. And that's kind of where you guys found me when I live stream. So oh, and that's where we're at now with this Claude Code window that we've got open. So right, let's get to it. So I want to review. I'm just off screen again. I'm a project folder in Claude, in the Claude chat. So what I want it to do at the moment, or what I'm doing at the moment, is I want to review the skill in line with the work that we've done. I've asked it to look at the engineering MDC that we created at the beginning of the build. And then I've explained that I'm actually currently at a crossroad in Cursor where I need to fix and the project key to found umbrella not link. See these up to fit based on my Cool. So in fact, rather than actually just dropping these in one at a time, I'm gonna skills into the project. So I'm just gonna just so it has full context, what it is. These you stage and the TDD module, they're all in to issue. Cool. To production. Well, triage skill. Yeah, put it all in. Put it the ability to write a skill. And then the final one is the skills. Flag in. So right now, Claude's away doing that. I'll share my I'll share the browser window as well. Just the picture. Uh, do it as a window. Yeah. All right. Cool. So yeah, hopefully now you can see. Um, okay, cool. So you can see where it's at with it. Cool. So I dug back through the prospector build and blah blah blah. Headline findings. So there is this. Yes, obviously it recognizes Matt Pacock, Pacock, Matt Pacock's skill suite. It's engineered for a different operating model than mine, which is okay. It assumes GitHub or GitLab issues tracker as a unit of work. AFK. Picking up so, and then it writes. I run none of that, which is true. Your unit work is the phase. Okay, cool. And this is what I said earlier. Your agent is Claude in Cursor, with you in the loop on every file. Yep, that's exactly how I work. And yet my tracker is the phase prompt plus the MDC rules, which is fine. So the suite splits cleanly into a concept that transfers beautifully, and the plumbing inserts into your adaptive infrastructure. Yeah, cool. So fit clarification. So the grill me is a strong fit, and I can use it now. Why? This is stack and tracker agnostic, exactly the tool for an architecture crossroads, explores the code base and works in Cursor, that's fine. Zoom out, strong fit, cheat module, clear a map, disable, blah blah blah. This means that slash it means that slash commands only, and won't auto trigger. That's fine. Just know it. Cool. That's okay. Right skill strong fit. You're literally curating the skill library right now. Self applies. That's fine. Deep module, concept fit, generally good design, doctrine. Caveat is every code example is TypeScript and whatever, not Python, which is mostly what I'm using. So this might not be a good fit. Again, it doesn't mean that we can't use it. I just need to dig deeper into this, just to see what it's doing to those TypeScripts and then pinch anything that I can then apply to my Python. Um, and in the review, this is a partial high value but wrong plumbing. The two axes stand out as is the standards versus the specs idea. It's the single best thing in the suite for me. But as written, it spawns parallel Claude code subagents, pull spec from the issue tracker, and then it looks for Claude MD contributing blah blah blah, not my MDC files. Again, so again, that's something that again we could potentially use, but we need to rewire that. Handoffs partial, useful for cross-phase context handoff, but saves the OS, it saves to the OS temp, easy to lose on Windows, and assumes the PRDs or issues and whatever exist to reference, not duplicate. You don't have these, but Claude, you don't know, because I have no, I haven't built these yet. Actually, I haven't built these yet. I think I had it on my roadmap of things to do when I was initiating or initially looking at this skill suite. So again, the TDD's partial but philosophical clash. Test behavior through public interfaces is sound, but TS example and strict red green factor fights my generate complete file, verify the phase at the end rhythm. And that just sounds like there's a lot more. I guess it's the authentication or the authorization layer is slightly different to what I'm currently using. And then to prod, publishes a PRD to an issue tracker with a ready for agent label, no tracker, which is a dead end. The PRD template is reused. So again, but I wanted to have a look at what that is anyway, so I'm gonna ignore Claude on that one and review. And then two issues is a poor fit, the tracer bullet, issues on the tracker, my slice fate. Your slices are phases, not issues. Again, we need to just kind of maybe repurpose that and combine these two, which is an issue for triage, brief, poor fit. Okay, cool. So the gaps that actually matter, nothing in the suite reads the MDC, and that's your entire standards layer. So I need to incorporate and look and benchmark what I can take from my engineering MDC, which is a directive, and then review or see where I can actually intercept, cross over any of those standards between mine and Matt's approach. Sorry, I've got a blocked nose, so I'm really apologize. My voice is a lot huskier than normal. And sorry for coughing into the microphone as well. I should have just muted. What am I doing? Right, so okay, cool. So that's done. And then there were no skill functions. Pain. Implementation drift. Okay, cool. And this is the important one. the implementation drift. So obviously, I'm working in phases that keeps the general steering of the project like down a narrow path. But I'm hoping, or when I initially looked at this, I was hoping that I can, and yeah, obviously, I think that's shown in the next one. I was hoping that I can somehow merge the handoff skill to somehow review my initial phasing and this engineering MDC or the compliance MDC, because at the end I've set up stage gates at the end of each and every single sprint of work that any of my agents do. They start with a very succinct set of deliverables. So let's say, for example, for H, which was the last one, all that was doing was integrating the sorry, it was integrating the the Google authorization, linking the account, and then sending a test email. That was it. That was the sprint of work. But obviously, it involved a fair few layers of code, quite a few files, and making sure that all the routing was there and it was correct, and then also where all of those credentials were being stored was correct, and then making sure that obviously the emails were routing through to the right contact in the database, and all of that was then being tracked in the UI as well. So that's that has a clear set of deliverables and then something that we can actually test at the end of that implementation sprint. As you know, have the emails been sent? Yes or no? Is the account authenticated? Yes or no? Do the emails actually Are the emails actually arriving in the inbox? Something that I can quickly test. Have you got authorization to send from that account? All of those things are testable. So then at the end of that stage gate, I can give it a clear pass, and then move on to the next sprint, not really worrying about what came before it, but you can then get the agent to focus directly on that. And that's what I want to actually be able to bridge when I'm doing any kind of session handover, is that interphase context, in terms of if obviously I'm running a session and I've hit 140 or 160k tokens within a particular session, as in a context window. um, I want to be able to switch to a new session but still retain where I am within um within what within the actual phase itself, right? So that I'm not losing so I'm not losing where I am in the actual build itself, and I'm not losing the context or the progress in terms of where I got to within that particular build, but I'm able to still pick up where I left off, and that's where I want to be able to get to. So I'm gonna keep that skill in there, but that's something I'm now gonna need to wire up, and make sure that that's working correctly. Um, so yeah, so that's something that I will benchmark or bookmark as well now. Um, and just give me a second. I'll quickly take a call. I ended up having to just quickly check something on my phone. So yeah, so where was I? Yeah, this I'm going through this skills breakdown, pairing some of the skills with what my actual project is doing. And yeah, just bridging some of these gaps. So with regards to my engineering MDs, I want to actually reference that every single time I do a session handover or session handoff. So I'm gonna go back into Claude Code and then just let it know. I'll drop my in just so that it's got reference to it because that was in the initial project folder that I had or that I was working from. Uh, Claude Code doesn't have that context, so long time. What are you doing here, man? Um, but yeah, so I wanna hand that I wanna put that into the into Claude Code now, just so that it's got context of engineering MDC, just so that I'm not blindly putting my a new skill into my code base without knowing my my project's architecture, because then I'm going to end up with clashes, which is what I found on Cursor earlier, with regards to green to that one, with regards to my Cursor build. So with letting Cursor just kind of like run free, it ended up creating all of those Git and repo issues where it was committing code to the wrong repository, and then there was a lot of context being missed through the different branches. So I want to be able to kind of like circumnavigate that and build this up now in a way where it remembers the initial context, which phase of the sprint I'm actually in, so that when I drop the context or I drop the session, I'm actually then going through and handing this off in a way that I don't lose any of the context, but then I still regain a lot of that context window for yeah, sorry, so that I'm getting distracted by by a message. But yeah, so that I don't lose any of the context in the session window itself. Again, given the agent full the full context window to actually do its best work, and then I can move on to the next task, but then I don't lose any of that context. So that's what we're going to do now. So I'm just going to switch back to code, show you how I'm going to tackle that. So I've got my engineer um, right at the start, which again, Matt does um, a good job with the handoff, but I can't blindly put that into my project. So um, this is the like kind of the philosophy or the steering document that I my gave at the start of my project. So this is what it's building, a prospector tool and whatever else. I gave it the full I gave it the full structure. So all of this context means something. I set a lot of like do's and don'ts in terms of the rules that it should be following. If I was to leave this to roam free, all of this context will get lost, and that's how Matt's written his skill. It actually drops off any of the context, and each time it's having to call that from the temp folder, and that's not what I want to be. That's not what I want, or that's not how I want this to behave. So I'm gonna tell Claude that. So this is my original um, engineering dot DC. Um, to the handover skill and ensure this can work alongside it. This will be first skill to so now I'm going to let Claude do that, and I'm going to check the session side. We're still at what, 56k tokens, so that's still relatively safe. What I'm doing there is just checking. What I'm doing is just checking the top right. I don't want to go over 140 to 160k tokens on any session. But again, and this is what I'm building up for now, and you'll see that I'll be able to fix the application, but keep any handover as soon as it hits 160k. As soon as I've switched the session to something new, I'll be able to retain all of the context so that it's not having to go back and reread everything just to make a decision on what direction that we move. So you can see it here. What's it saying? Sorry, quick note, I'm ignoring. Claude is up to. Right, let me just close this context window. Right, so the keyword appears inside your engineering MDC, blah blah blah. You haven't asked for any multi-agent orchestration. This is focused on a single skill review, so I'll do it directly. So let me read the stage, blah blah blah. Okay, now Claude understands the handoff skill, and they're going to ground the compatibility and check against what's actually in the repo. So while that's doing that, I'm going to actually make which is going. I didn't, again, as well, because that would have caused other conflicts elsewhere within my repository. So the key findings before I tweak what's actually true in that repo. So the repo does have the engineering MDC, it all exists, but there is no cursor directory or derivative engineering. So it's not yet installed in this repo. You're holding it externally. Worth deciding later, blah blah blah. Okay, cool. So that's also now a good catch, because all of this was in my Claude project, but it hadn't actually gotten through to my cursor repo. So if I'd have just run this skill blindly, every single time it had done a handover and saved into the temp folder, cleared all of its memory, it would have still had to read the whole code base every time. Where I actually want to change this, so it's only reading the specific phase directive that I'm in, and the slice that I'm in. So these are the two tweaks that I actually now want to make to this. And for some reason, why is it still reading from the IDF folder? It shouldn't be reading from there. No, this isn't right. So now this is the key, is always understanding the code and not just kind of like vibe coding or winging it, because you won't notice a lot of these mistakes that Claude is making, and then if you blindly just accept, you're gonna end up building an application that you can't maintain, you can't update or add any features to moving forward. So the original's going okay, cool, so that's fine. Right, so now I'm just going to tell it directly, because I've got this set to, Opus 4.8 and it's on high. So what I'm going to first ask in my project where it's got all of the context, and then I'll drag and drop that response into Claude Code and get it to do all of the commits. And then I'll make sure that that file is then created in Cursor, so that everything is fixed from an architecture and a context perspective, and then we'll start rebuilding the skill and then run the skill on the actual project as well. just so that we can test it for the last phase that I run, which was H, see how it performs for H, and then I'll feed in the next letter and the next phase, and then get it to run, and then do the session handoffs and see that that bit's operational. And then I think that that should actually save us a bunch of time. And before the end of the day, probably I'll have the application finished in terms of like the functionality. And then I can start smoke testing it and doing everything else and refining it as we're going along. And then it's just a matter of tidying up the repository and moving everything back out. So yeah, so let me just get all of. All right, so it's all it's all going off in the group. Right, so let me get back to what. So so just no, in fact I can share screen. So what I want to do is um mm, I want to have the handoff of the uh, 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 um progress phase. So no text. And then that's gonna make temp memo stay. Add the plug think. Oh, oh, so then now this is kind of again my workflow is I'll just always open these or before I commit to an actual directive. I'll always ask Claude to just peer review with me. I'll give it an initial direction that I want to go in, and then having that peer review statement in there allows me to kind of go back and forth with it as well in terms of what I'm doing, what it's doing, and yeah, before I actually put anything into Claude Code and then end up finding that it's not going to work or it's going to clash with this, that, and the other. I don't want to commit that to the code there or make these sort of prompts within Claude Code itself. I want to ideate outside of that. This is safe to do. It doesn't need the code base in order to do that because it's got that initial directive in terms of my engineering concepts or how I wanted to manage this project before the build itself. So even before I put it into Cursor to start this initially, I did all of the planning outside and within a project in Claude, did all the peer review, and then set up all of the structure, put it into Cursor, and then that's where got to. So yeah, so its response is it likes the instinct. A phase aware handoff is a direct fix for the exact failure that you've already hit. The compliance gate mess happened across a session boundary, and the new session didn't know the state of the old one and where things were left off. It's the reason for the stale picture. Yeah, sorry, it is reasoned from a stale picture, and that's what we're trying to avoid. This is what's happened with this particular project. When it came to just thinking that I've given it enough context, and the amount of directives and files that I gave it, and still split up all of the context, it still managed to get things like entirely wrong. And again, because I've built it and read it line by line, we're able to catch it at a good time and be able to make this pivot now. So gold plate in here. The one tension worth resolving first is the OS temp and context lost. Pull is pull in the opposite direction unless you split it to offset. So single handoff document can't be both. Okay, yeah, no, that's how I've worded it. My recommendation is that the handoff writes a live checkpoint to temp, and at a phase completion, the summary of the phase folds into your commit message. Yeah, that's the best approach. How does it know where the progress? Not to the conversation. Yeah, no, that's and then the discipline that makes this is based off of the skills rule. Do not duplicate file bodies. They live in the repository, which is fine because obviously the code is the single source of truth. It captures only okay, cool. So that's fine. I think that's the best. So peer review back to you. Purely, yeah, within the phase resume context to be lost. Don't want to case we need to fit back. Any reason? Sorry, I've got a broken hand. Typing is just crazy. I want it to actually be able to, this needs to work across session. In fact, should we even be clever? I want it to actually now be self-aware. Be self-aware of when a context session is at or 160k. This should session. Cool. So then if we do that, I'm not having to, I'm now taking that I guess having to check out of my hands and building it into that. But obviously I can still manually check because as I found out the hard way, and I'm pretty sure we all have, leaving it to do its own thing and have to remember all of this context and to check, it's not going to. I don't trust that it's going to. But at least if we're building it into a directive or hard rule, we're relying on it to eventually get to a point where in its checklist and triggering certain skills, it's able to do this alone. So that's kind of how I want to approach it. Anything that I know that I'm going to have to do more than once or whatever else, I try and build it into a skill just to save myself that repetition. I know the guardrails, I know where they are, but if I'm having to do it repetitively, it's a no-brainer to actually bake it into the skill so that the agent is actually running that task itself concurrently. I'm not having to remember to do that. So yeah, so that's the plan. Cool. So what's it said? Good, that resolves a fork at the last turn decisively. You want the durable record, not the throwaway checkpoint. Yep. That changes the design, which is fine. And it also refers to one of the requirements that I have to be straight with you about before we build anything around it. The 160k trigger is the weak link. I'd design I'd design so nothing depends on it. Here's the honest constraint. I can't reliably measure my own context window mid conversation. Um, there is no gauge exposed to me that says that you're right. I can guess from how long the thread is, but that guess is unreliable. To arrive late. By the time I'd notice, I may already be dropping earlier detail, but also blah blah blah, which is precisely okay, cool. So the fix isn't a better sensor, it's to make the threshold not matter. The free reliable automatic checkpoints every session. That's fine. We've already got that in anyway. Because every phase is built in with a layer of like human interaction towards the end of it. Um, I can actually act on so a proxy heuristic. So actually, I don't know. So roughly every eight session, for a moment, I know it's struggling to record. How do you know that you're struggling, but you never tell us? Come on. Um, Write a checkpoint, crude but observable. Human watch. Yeah, cool. The human watch is the back save because that's what I will be doing. Um, and I want this to be in code. Not cool. So let's see what it got. Decision I need from you. Um, are you good with the git mirror phase? Fine. Oh, that's fine. Genuinely want a temp only, in which case I'll build it. But I want to paste into code. Um, Context 60k token. So the suggestion is not really reliable. To flag when you can't remember. Tells is check size. But yeah, so this is what I'm going to suggest now is to add a context size check. A context size check on new prompt. Yeah. And if it's at a lower limit. So what I'm thinking is adding basically a prompt gate with a lower limit of 140k, limit of 140k tokens, so that if it's within if it's within 5k of this lower limit, it should trigger. trigger the handoff. So then that way we're not having to rely on it being or knowing that it's at 160. We just set in a gate below 160 so that it can, so it can trigger the handoff for the next one. So it's still complete and it shouldn't break anything in terms of not allowing the prompt to actually complete. But doing it this way now allows us a bit of headroom without having to rely on, like, counting or without having to rely on Claude having to figure out how much of a context window it's actually got. So yeah, then that's going to be the right approach. I want to see what it thinks about this. Pasting into Claude changes the answer and the way it actually helps you. Claude Code is a real mechanism. I tell you how it works. The skill points me. Yeah, that's fine. All the hooks. Hook. What are you doing? Not what I asked you to do. Submit. Session start. Okay, cool. Backup scripts example. There are hooks removes the the hooks receives fires back towards processes each. Then straightforward and reads the transcript from the transcript file exact token, but that's still determined far more reliable goals. Okay. So the user's proposal. So it looks as though it's agreeing or it's going to agree with my suggestion, and then we can get that put in. Two things worth knowing. Skill can't do what you're describing. A hook can. That's fine. The hook can do it. But let's make the skill build the hook. A skill. These instruction caveat handle. Recompat. That's fine. Resume. Cool. Two things worth knowing. Your Windows and the setup that lives in fits into your pre. Thoughts? Okay, cool. Yes. In Claude Code. Locked. Decisions. Chat. It's fine. All right, that's good. So then while it's doing that, I can actually go back to code window. That's I wanted to quickly fix as well. Um, to finish doing what it's doing. Um, mm, 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 mm. Yeah, so hopefully I can get this completed in today's session because there are kind of like better sorry about that. There are better builds that I do kind of want to document and kind of live build or pick up, but this was something that I thought, okay, it's it's showing my approach to fixing a problem and implementing something for the first time. So you see me go through the motions as well for the first time. I don't want to kind of just pick up midway or just copy and paste. I would have on a normal day I would have probably just sat here doing this in the background as I was going along. But I want uh, 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 um, yeah, sorry, slightly distracted. Um, all right, cool. So it's gotten the stuff ready. Background. Sorry about that. I just wanted to went. But yeah, as I was saying before, it would have been easy for me to just kind of just do what I normally do. In that, just kind of cracking on with things in the background, pick up, um, press the record button, and kind of go through the motions, and it helps me as well in terms of just getting my presenting skills up, I guess. Get my presenting skills up because I do want to stream a lot more of my builds and start kind of not teaching but putting myself a little bit more out there in terms of documenting my builds. It puts a little bit more pressure on me. It allows me to be focused on one thing at a time as well, because I've got ADHD, and at the start of every week my mind's got probably like 40 ideas, 40 things that I need to build and get out there, but at the end of each week I've probably only built like two two or started to build two of them. So yeah, so this is helpful. It's extremely helpful for me as well. So yeah, so this is it's finished building the prompt that I need to actually paste into um Claude. So a lot of these decisions. Okay, cool. So I'm gonna put it into code, and then let's see how it actually tackles it. Perspective. So so yeah, so the whole thing, what we're doing now is building a cross session handoff system, and yeah, we're just gonna get straight to it. What I want to be able to do is put everything that I was kind of having problems with or seeing as a caveat that didn't quite work from Matt's skill that he had, and building some ring fencing around it, just so that I can get it more incorporated into my workflow and my code base. So yeah, so context window at the moment in this is 160k. 100, sorry, not 160k, 69k tokens out of obviously the million. And as Matt says, for those who may not know who he is, I've got Claude Max subscription. And the context window does go all the way up to a million tokens, but I want to keep that as low as possible just to retain the best of Claude in terms of the power it's got, and as well as not trying to burn up tokens um, in a really tight context window. Just because you end up burning tokens and not getting the best out of it, and having to deal with a lot of mistakes and things like that. So it's currently running an agent that's creating the hook, so we can just click on this to see what it's doing. That across now, so we can see what exactly what exactly it's doing. Excuse me. Yeah, it's incorporating that browser tab, blah blah blah. Me. Boom, 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 boom. Okay, so this is what it's been doing. I'd zoomed this in way too much, to the point where it's actually it's too big. It's too big for me. Can't can't see. It's all in the spirit of making sure that you guys can see what I'm doing. But I've ended up tight for me, and set this back to 0. What I'll do is I'll create the zooms or any zooms that I need to do. I'll just increase the size of the thing in OBS rather than straining my eyes because the thing's too close to me. Might not make sense, but it makes sense to me. So yeah. Cool. So I'm just checking where the context window is at the moment. So it's currently at 78k. In terms of the context, and where has it gotten up to? It's nearly finished, to be fair, before I can confirm 3 dependencies and a brief, blah blah blah. Complete brief. This is a complete brief of a 0. We're not generating any files yet. I'll do required reads, blah blah blah, understanding, but found a material dependency. I need to surface before confirming anything. Let me confirm that the hooks, contracts, and official docs while I'm laying out. I've read the hook docs and inspected the repo. 2 are blockers that touch your locked decision. So I'm flagging these rather than silently working around, which is good. Love that. Before I confirm the 3 discrepancies with the brief, it's my canonical files don't exist. Okay, cool. So this, so this is missing, but you pasted the context earlier, so I have it. But this is weird because this should exist here. This should exist here. So what I'm gonna do is create that file quickly, because it would be very easy to ask Claude to just do it. But I'm gonna actually open the path in Cursor. So I'm just gonna switch back to Cursor. So I'm gonna open the path in Cursor, and then I will. Don't need this whole. So yes, I've opened the I'm opening the path up in Cursor. It's saying that the path doesn't exist, which is annoying. So what we're gonna do here is just create it, and I'm just gonna use Cursor just to do this really quickly. So again, just open it up. I probably didn't need. I'm just gonna quickly create this, right? Create this file. In it's really lazy, to be fair. I couldn't harder and all of that good stuff. So I'm just going back to I'm really surprised that it's saying that it doesn't have that. But it is what it is. Cool. So okay, that's fine. Pasted that in. Pasted that in, so it's now going to create the file for me. So then I can go back to Claude Code and tell Claude that the file exists, that it has been created. And then yeah, from there, we can pick up where we left off with one of the dependencies at least there. So why is it searching in the wrong place? Why are you searching in the wrong place? Sometimes you really need to look at what these things are doing. Composer's actually supposed to be a decent model. Right, why am I using Composer? So just while we're waiting for this to do its thing, another gripe that I've had with Cursor in the past, as much as you know, I do have quite a lot of gripes with it, but it is the best what's it called? It's the best manifest that I've used. Yeah, it's the best manifest that I've used. So I did have this connected, and this was the pivot or the change in my workflow. So, or this was a change or pivot in my workflow. I did have Claude connected via API, but my God, the usage. So there was a day where I think I was prompting just like quite light, like nothing crazy. I was probably on a 2 hour session or something like that. So a little half an hour more than so what we've done so far. But I was doing everything within Cursor, and ended up getting billed, I think, £120. So it was like $140, $150, and I couldn't really account for why, like so from there, I've ended up connecting. Obviously, I've got a Codex Enterprise, and then a Claude Max plan as well. So what I've been doing is, obviously, I can still do everything that I need to do files wise. If I need to dive in, I can use Cursor and whatever else. But then I actually connect Claude Code and then Codex as well to those project folders. So then if there's anything that I kind of want to prompt and move around and do that sort of thing, that I would have used the cursor agents or the inbuilt cursor agents, or sorry, Claude or GPT within cursor projects, having already got those accounts and then doing it through Codex or Claude Code, I'm actually getting better results this way, because it's got the full context. I can just swap things around and just try and keep each workflows separate. Um, yeah, and that's kind of, it's been helping. It's been kind of speeding up some of these things. And then also when it comes to auditing, it is a heck of a lot better. I'm finding just switching context and things like that a lot easier to manage. So yeah, this is a quick one in terms of why I do that way. Check on so yeah, so it says created it. Okay, cool. So it's under the Prospector repo, which is the right place as well. So you kudos to you. So you've done. Sorry, that's back to where it needs to be, the right place. And folder structure. That's back in the right place where it needs to be. So now I'm gonna switch back and let Claude know that I've actually put the file back. So oh, but silly how it's not gonna just get Cursor to got all of those. Yeah, cool. So right, so let me just get that done as well now so that I can put all of those in the right place. I don't know if my audio was actually getting picked up then. I think I was a bit too far from the mic, which was fun. But yeah, cool. So let me just let me cursor, Claude Code. Lost my train of thought. Cool. Yes, I'm bouncing back to cursor just to put the items in the right place. Create a database. Right, so what I'm doing here is no context window. So I'm still just at 21k tokens. This is very light, very light. Same for the see. And then while that's doing that for the database, we can open a new context. Same thing, clients. So I'm just putting in the compliance rules now, just to make sure that they're in as well. So paste and then okay. finished quicker than I thought it would, which is fun. So we just use this same for that in, go to the top, go back to Claude real quick, get the directory, same for cool. Okay, so all the dependencies that Claude flagged that it was looking for have now been pasted back in. So I can go back to Claude Code now and let it know. So all the dependencies are in place. Check and verify. Check and verify. Yeah. Then continue. Cool. So now that's now going off and checking and making sure that everything is in the right place. Again, just a quick check on the context window. We're at 84K, so it's still relatively light usage. Relatively light usage here. Yeah, so this is all good. So the standard files are all present. Let me read the disk. Okay, cool. No. General work files confirmation, calls on disk engineering, matches the pace of version. Cool. Verify version, right? That's fine. Sorry for mumbling. Catch myself just no. All right. So this has gone in, which is good. Okay. Right, so where are we? So they're now present. The unusual matches a pace of version important by Python lacks longer. Okay, the project users VM, that's fine. Does call it there, the hook must involve the files, let me find. Okay, of course. Let it think. Let it think away. And do what it's doing. And I'm probably gonna park this stream here. And what I'll do is I'll finish this section off in terms of setting up all of the prerequisites and the skill, but hopefully in this session you've been able to see my approach in terms of just sense checking any skill or anything that you find online or on Git against your code base, making sure that it's actually a good fit before you commit it to your code, before you expose it to your code and kind of blindly paste it in. Because a lot of the time, again, whether you've vibe coded or whether you've engineered your item to work a certain way, you want to make sure that if you're introducing something new, that you're actually validating it against your methodology and your approach, and you're stress testing it to where it clashes, where it overlaps with certain things, and then refine it. Never be shy to refine a skill. Never be shy to refine any bit of code to actually make it fit to your way of working, and then it kind of becomes a bit more of your own thing. So I'm gonna close this live, and then I'll be on probably in 6 hours time or so, just to do another 3-4 hour blast in the evening, and by then or when I next resume the stream, I'll have all of these dependencies and skills sorted out, so we can actually get to the actual building of our application. All I'm doing right now is just kind of tidying up the repository, tidying up the architecture and the rules and the compliance, and making it fit more, before I progress forward with any further building, or any kind of like further revisions to my code base. I want to make sure that structurally I'm doing everything in the right manner, I'm taking the right approaches, and then I'll lock it down as a checkpoint, commit everything to Git, and then I'll start a new branch, that will kind of then progress forward. And if we see we break anything, we hit any kind of like major stumbling blocks, we've got a position that we can pivot back to, um, and that's the right approach. So never be afraid to kind of like, yeah, make these kind of checks and ring fencing, because everyone obviously wants to rush into something and vibe and build things in one shot, but doing it that way, and trying to build things in a single shot, you end up building something that, number one, you're going to struggle when it comes to shipping it. Number two, you're not going to fully understand the ins and outs of your code, so that if something breaks, or if you want to kind of like change the feature, you know where to kind of like pick from, and you know what I mean, you've not got that understanding of where and how, the various modules within your code base actually intercept, and connect with one another. So that's the whole point of this particular stream, and kind of just going along the journey with me with, yeah, just picking away at this new skill directive. Yes, it's taken an hour and a half plus, to kind of like unpick. It might have been faster if I wasn't kind of trying to explain and being distracted and bouncing between it, making sure I'm actually interacting with the camera and microphone while I'm working away. Usually this would have just been like something I put my head down and crack on and bounce between the various monitors and things like that. So it is a bit slower because you're doing it in real time and having to explain what you're doing as well at the same time. But this is my general workflow whenever I'm putting anything new into code, whether I'm making any kind of pivots and things like that. This is the first time I'm actually running any of these things, or any of these skills from Matt. So I wanted to make sure that it's not going to kind of badly align with my code base. And yeah, so I think this is a safe place to stop it. And then if you're obviously following along or whatever else, the next time we pick this up, I'll be in a position where I'm actually back to actually building, and carrying on the application with all of these bits and bobs in place. Thank you so much for tuning in. Catch you on the next one.